Welcome to TC Live. Thank you for your patience. I had a little bit of technical difficulties, but today we're talking about how to stick to your goals. And I think a big part of that is making sure you're able to also pivot when things don't go according to plan, much like this live stream, because somehow the settings got switched to an external live stream platform that I don't have set up. But here we are. I also unfortunately cannot see the chat, but if you are in the chat, go ahead and comment because we're going to get to this, and bear with me as we set things up. But my name is Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily, and this is Transaction Care. And today we're talking about how to stick to your goals. So if you are here, go ahead and say hello. And unfortunately, the other live link is no longer active, but we're going to power through this. And I can see your chat. So I'm going to put something in the chat and go from there. So, how to stick to your goals. It all begins with clarity. So, clarity is key. And, clarity comes from being honest and having a strong desire to show up for you. Because in order to accomplish your goals, you need to know where you're going. And a part of that clarity is also embodiment. Embodiment, not just setting up goals and doing them for 30 days or doing a 75 hard. And then once it's all done, you go back to your old ways. No, because this is all about, like I said, embodiment. And this is now your lifestyle. And when it comes to creating goals and, accomplishing your dreams, once you embody it and it becomes a part of your lifestyle, that then creates consistency and builds confidence. And then you get stuff done. And as someone that has been self-employed for the last 7 years this year, I can definitely say it was a journey in order for me to embody the things that I'm doing now. And yes, I've been productive and somehow lasted this long, thank God, as a self-employed transaction coordinator, and now adding coach to that title, content creator. It definitely takes a lot of effort and action on my part to stay consistent and to embody these things. And in order to do so, I have to recognize and accept that 10 minutes of a workout add up, and it does count. And after 12 weeks, I've built habits that I didn't have prior, or that 1 hour of focused attention to my business, whether it's learning or growing the business, gets more customers, and it does make a difference. When that hour I was probably spending watching a TV show or scrolling on TikTok. So everything counts, especially when it comes to our money, our mind. As long as you're investing intentionally into you and know exactly where you're going, this process becomes a lot easier. So mindset. We want to talk about, we talk about mindset on this channel all the time. And basically, now, it's the beginning of the year, we're shifting our mindsets. Everyone has those New Year's resolutions, and this is around the time when things start to phase out. You get tired. You might have bit off more than you can chew, but that's okay. That's why I chose to do this live stream today, to not only help you all have different ways to stick to your goals, but also just to have this serve as a check-in for those that may need it. Because I know myself, I'm doing the 12-week year. This is my second time doing the 12-week year. And if you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it. But this is my second time doing the 12-week year. I did it 12 years ago, but my ego would not let me do 12 weeks. I remixed it and cut it short and said, no, I'm going to do 6 weeks. And the good thing that came out of that process was my podcast, but everything else fell apart because I wasn't considering my whole life as, my life as a whole. I was just considering the one goal I had, and that's all that mattered at that point. So fast forward to now, 2025, I'm shifting my mindset day by day. I spent time at the end of the year really crafting my 12-week year and how I wanted it to look, auditing my life, being honest and realistic with my goals, as well as audacious, because I think that's important for us to dream big and to have goals that we can't even fathom. Me sitting here talking to you all on live is something I would dream about 7+ years ago, being at my 9 to 5. And now that I'm doing it, I'm just so grateful each and every day. And a lot of my accomplishments really had nothing to do with the money, because the money comes and goes so quickly. And I feel like at this point in my life, being 40, entering my 7th year of being self-employed, I want to be more intentional. I feel like I'm starting from experience. I'm not starting over. And mindset is so key in accomplishing our goals as well as maintaining them and sticking to them. Now, if you're someone that doesn't set goals, that's fine. How do you go about your year or your day to day without setting goals? Like, what are you working towards, or do you have a different, what is your mindset? I would love to discuss that, because I've gone years where, well, maybe not years, but I know there was one year where I was like, I'm not going to set any goals. Honestly, I don't remember that year. I know I did it. I know I did it, but I don't remember if I accomplished anything. But here I am. For me, I'm the type of person that, hence being a transaction coordinator, I love a checklist. I love a to-do. I love accomplishing things and having those quick hits of dopamine throughout the day that allow me to cross things off my list, and whether it's one thing or multiple. So what has allowed me to maintain my goals and be successful? Well, like I said, I'm doing the 12-week year. So a lot of this is inspired by the 12-week year, but it's also taking bits and pieces of my life experience as well as other books I've read, like Atomic Habits, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, Money Master the Game, as well as financial books, the Bible. I've recently gotten back into reading the Bible. Well, this is the first time in my life I'm intentionally reading the Bible and building my faith and learning about God and Jesus on my terms, because that's a whole separate vlog and live streaming conversation we can have. But I'm pulling from a bunch of different resources and putting them together in this quick because I just want to open up the dialogue and help you all. Hold on, let me close these. I have a bunch of tabs open. But basically, there we go. So overall, how I start my year and it throughout time is, and shout out to my coach when I was working with her at the time. She introduced this concept of having a word of the year. And I've been doing this now for about 4 years, having, a word of the year, which you can either, pick one right away, or as you're auditing your life and going through the modes of breaking down your goals and your dreams and your schedule, maybe the word will appear or come to you as you're, as you're doing it. So, sorry, I have to fix the original live stream that I had scheduled. Like I said, the settings were all wrong. And of course, that's life, right? Nothing goes according to plan. Things mess up at the last minute. But like I said, we pivot and we get back up and we figure it out, because I was getting very discouraged about coming on this live, but you guys are seeing my real reaction in real time, being vulnerable and honestly a little bit frazzled because that happened. I was sitting here ready, got my water, snacks, relaxed, ready to talk, and all of a sudden the live stream wasn't working. And I had to create a whole new link, which people don't have access to, and I just emailed it to over 500 people. So hopefully if you're watching this on the replay, it still resonates. But I will be going live on Wednesdays. more often. So if you have any questions or want to dive deeper into this topic, you can also email me directly, tc@transactioncare.com. That's probably the best way to communicate with me at this point, as well as subscribing. Have you hit that subscribe button? We're almost at 1,400 followers. That's amazing because I started this YouTube channel 3 years ago, I think, maybe 4 years ago. And I really was doing this as an outlet. It was one of my goals was to create a YouTube channel. I The initial goal and dream was I'm going to be a big YouTube star and have all these followers and subscribers and make money off of it. And it didn't quite go the way I had intended. And it was through trial and error, through applying what I'm about to break down for you guys, that I'm just now realizing what it really takes, like I said, embodiment, to become a YouTuber, to become a transaction coordinator, to maintain self-employment for 7 years, even when I have 0 closings this month. And there's still a chance, right? But when you're making 0 money from one of your main streams of income, you can't help but be a little overwhelmed and frazzled. But it's exercises like this that I can reference in those times of need or struggle, or just when you're feeling discouraged. I'm reminded that my word of the year is, for me, it's discipline this year. In the past, it has been courage. I don't know if you can see my little poster there. It's been courage. It's been trust. It's been confidence. Last year was trust. And I did a lot of, whether I realized it or not, God gave me a lot of situations where I had to trust in God and learn how to trust myself. My slogan last year was trust God, trust myself, trust the process. And then halfway through the year, I added trust the abundance. And that's still a mantra and a mindset that I'm continuously adapting into my life. But this year, it's all about discipline. And despite the errors and the technical difficulties, I'm still being disciplined and showing up for the live, even if I have to use a brand new link that no one knows about. So, what is the word that comes to mind when I say, what is your word of the year? Do you have one? Have you ever done something like that? Let me know in the comments what word you decide on. And you can have more than one, but I feel like having one word that is the theme for my whole year really keeps me grounded and in line with the direction I'm headed towards. So we have our word of the year, and I'm going to comment that as well, because I want to make sure that we are keeping track of things. And also this will be in the description of the of this live stream. So, word of the year, as well as what is your why? I'm pretty sure you've heard this before, but it really is the foundation of this either house or nation that you are building for yourself. And having your reason or reasons why you're doing something really keeps you grounded in continuously showing up for yourself, because this really comes down to, which we'll get to later, but it really comes down to ownership and accountability and keeping those promises to yourself. So what is your why? And be specific, get very clear. I have it printed on my wall above my monitor right here. And a lot of it has to do with myself, God, family, financial independence, community, respecting my blessings, embodying my goals, dreams, wishes, and desires. So everyone's why is different, but if you know what your why is, it really will come in handy in times when you are in fear, doubt, and struggle, because you can reference that as a quick reminder. Oh yeah, okay, this is just a part of the process. I'm gonna fall, I'm gonna fail, but I get back up once again with experience, not from the very beginning. And then once you've kind of gotten clear about your why, you can always revise it, revisit it. In fact, I encourage you to revise and revisit your why and your word of the year throughout the year to make sure you're on track. Give yourself checkpoints throughout the year, whether it's quarterly, monthly, weekly, whatever you need in order to stay accountable. But once you've once you have established your why, which are your reasons, you want to go into, what is your mission? what are your values? What are the pillars that you're going to stand on in order for you to be successful in this venture? Whether it's and we'll get into different categories that I've broken down my goals and dreams into, because I think it's important to know yourself through this, and where you've lacked and where you've been successful, what you want to continue doing, what you want to continue working at and improving, and what you want to get rid of. So, what is your mission? What are you, aside from your why, like, what are you working towards? And values help you stay in line in terms of, bonus, your morals and your standards and how you operate in this world or in your business. So knowing what your values are. I remember I spent one weekend for maybe like 3 hours writing, researching the word values and, the word value and what are values and a list of them. And I narrowed it down to like my top three, and number one is respect. It's actually on the back of my door right now, but you get the idea. What are your values? And getting clear and specific with those as well. And then the pillars, in fact, let me see. So my values are fun, respect, creativity, trust, and integrity. And then my key pillars are service, community, and authenticity. And then my mission is to motivate, inspire, uplift, encourage, and be of service to others. So me showing up here on live, being a resource, being available, or, helping people through my coaching business, helping realtors and buyers and sellers through my transaction coordinator business, that all plays into my mission and being of service to others. So according to what I've written down, I'm doing a good job. So again, you want to get clear about these things: your word of the year, your why, what are your mission, what is your mission, what are your values, and what are the key pillars you're going to stand on. When people say I'm going to stand on business, like, what are those things for you? And then again, now, we're going into what are my dreams, what are my goals, and it's important to be very realistic about them, but also audacious. I think we can have some smaller goals that are quick and easy to attain, but then also those bigger goals, like I want to travel throughout Japan. I want to live in Japan for 30 days, or I would love to own a WNBA basketball team. I'm just sharing a couple of my goals with you all, some of my audacious goals. And, some of my more realistic goals are renew my passport. I need a passport. I need to renew my license. And those may seem like to-do lists, but, and that's something I've been procrastinating on, and it's getting down to the, and I'm going to have to find the money to pay for those things. So I have to make part of my goals and my to-do list. And that falls into the category of, my personal goals. And we'll get into those categories in a bit, but now is the time for you to start listing out your dreams and your goals. Like I said, be realistic and be audacious. It's fun. It really gets fun, and take time. You don't have to do all this right now, but if you are doing this right now, go ahead and share one of your goals in the comments that you're willing to share. I think it's okay to, share with either someone that you trust or value. That way you can have a bit of accountability, because I know there can be some people out there that, prey on your downfall, because we're human, you know what I mean? We tend to project or make mistakes, and it happens. But again, be realistic and be audacious when it comes to creating goals and dreams. Next up, we want to think about, accountability. I want to do all these things in the next year, 5 years, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you know what I mean? But how am I going to stay accountable? What does that look like? What are the promises I'm making to myself that will get me closer to my dreams and accomplishing my goals? For me, one of my biggest promises I'm making to myself is to put God first. That's something that I've always done, but I never did it with awareness or intentionality, and also fixing my attitude, gratitude over complaining. I'm reading my 2025 list, but trust over worry, love over regret, including loving what I do not like, love, or enjoy, and embracing empathy, compassion, kindness. Things that you think just come naturally, but you realize as the days and the weeks and the years go by, um, you might be living in a state of misery and don't even realize it because you never stop to be thankful and be grateful for the things that you have or the people that you have. We kind of just take these things for granted because they're easily accessible or they're just a phone call or a text away. And oftentimes you don't realize months and weeks have gone by. But these are just some things that I'm, committing to, as well as, being creative and giving you guys a new vlog every week, and on a personal level, working out 3 times a week, sobriety, um, following God's plan, not my mood. I wrote that down. So there's a lot on this list that I've created for myself when it comes to promises, commitments, and accountability. So you have to sit with yourself and decide what that's going to look like for you. And once you've kind of narrowed that down, and like I said, take your time. You don't have to do all this in one sitting. It took me probably all of November. I started in October, and then I was working on it in November, and then all of December, I invested my time to really putting together what I wanted 2025 to look like, or at least creating like a map for myself. And it was through all of this. So once you've made those commitments and those promises to yourself, now you want to start developing, how am I going to stay accountable for this? And for me, it's having my calendars up to date. It's having a calendar at my desk as well as digitally. It's having them put, things posted on my walls. You see, I have a Bible verse right there. I have words of encouragement and more words of encouragement. I also keep affirmations. And, one quote I heard last year that really just hit me in the chest was, procrastination is the arrogance to think that God will have. Okay, let me start over. Procrastination is the arrogance to think that God will give you another chance tomorrow to do what you had a chance to do today. And that really hit me in the chest because I squandered a lot of time when it came to my business. 2024 was one of those years where I just needed to stop. I just wanted everything to just stop and slow down because I knew I was going into a new decade with my life. I knew relationships were changing because of our, getting older and people wanting to go different directions, and whether it's, traveling or family dynamics or moving, you know what I mean? So it was really a transitional year for me. And I spent a lot of my savings just kind of sitting around and not really knowing what to do or when to start and, facing and healing a lot of traumas, with myself. And after 2024 kind of just really happening with a little bit of guidance and support, because I didn't do all this last year. I just had a few goals that I wanted to accomplish. And for the most part, I kind of did, but there were a lot of areas in my life that suffered because I wasn't aware. And I was procrastinating because I was fearful. I was scared to start new things. I was, I had FOMO. I was running out of money, because I was living off my savings, and business wasn't the strongest last year because I wasn't consistent. I gave up on the podcast. I was showing up here and there on YouTube. I was just so inconsistent because I just wanted a year to take off. And I'm so grateful that I did have the money that I saved from previous years to support me in that endeavor, because mentally and emotionally, I just went through so much last year that I wasn't aware of until I actually stopped to process it all. And it wasn't really until November and December where it all just came crashing down. So having this guideline and this awareness of what I want to accomplish, and I don't need to accomplish it all this year. I just have a general awareness. And like I said, a guide for me to follow. So when I am ready to focus on, let's just say, my physical health, I can. Or when I want to focus on my emotional health, I can. Or when I really want to double down on my business, I can. So that's going to bring us into categories, and then we're going to just wrap up this conversation. And if you do have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. But for now, we're just going to break down the categories that I set my goals and my dreams and my plans around. And of course, I always leave room for error or mishaps or just life in general. So, but to recap real quick, we've gone over our word of the year. We've gone over our why, mission, values, pillars, bonus, your morals, goals, dreams, and being realistic and audacious at the same time, as well as what are your promises that you want to keep for yourself, your commitments, and how are you going to keep yourself accountable. Plus, affirmations, whether it's quotes, I meant to say quotes, Bible verses, lyrics, words of encouragement, just motivation as reminders, whether they're subtle or aggressive, like the one the quote I mentioned, but having these around will help you stay on track if you're the type of person that needs that constant like reminder or reassurance. So, how do I break up my goals? And, this helps me have a visual understanding of, spirit, what I want to accomplish within these categories. And for some of you, you may be overflowing and really strong in certain areas, and it probably don't need to put too much work into it. Maybe you're just maintaining. Other areas may be weak and need a lot of attention. But either way, I think it's important to have a general understanding of where you're at. So when it is time to check in with yourself, whether it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, biannually, annually, you'll have an understanding of, oh, I started the year off like this, now it's about to be April. I surpassed this goal a long time ago. But going into the categories, and I'm going to list them out. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but I just want to give you guys an understanding of what this is. And again, if you want to schedule a one-on-one with me, you can do so. Just visit my website, but you can also email me directly, tc@transactioncare.com. It's the quickest way to reach me, transactioncare.com as well. But first up is spiritual, mental, and emotional health. Number 2, physical, fitness, nutritional health. 3, which falls into financial health, but I had it on my list as number 3, but tithing/money. Number 4 is your spouse, partner/dating. 5, family, friends, community. 6, personal, which can include like home activities, hobbies, miscellaneous things like I mentioned earlier, like renewing my passport or updating my driver's license photo, whatever it is to you. Cutting your hair, it's it's your choice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is business and career. 8 is financial health, which I mentioned earlier through tithing, but this can be, your money, your income, your savings, your investments, and again, tithing or how you choose to give back. Tithing is something I haven't done in like 20 years, so I've been implementing that back into my money spending and habits because I just wasn't giving back. I just wasn't. And I feel like if that's a different conversation. But tithing is important. It's important. Like it doesn't have to be to a church. I've been doing it to organizations, nonprofits, you could do it to GoFundMe's, or if, maybe a friend or a family member you feel like needs money, or maybe someone in your awareness, that can be a tithe as well. But 10%, and just a subcategory to the financial health aspect, but commitments, like I said, include income/money breakdown. So anytime I make, let's just say $1, 10% goes to tithing, 30% goes to taxes, 25% goes to savings, 20% goes to bills, and 15% I keep for myself. One of my main goals is to pay my bills early and on time, always. And then I have my income goals, which I will keep private to myself for now. But we could save that for the conversation. But ultimately, this helps me stay on track. So that way, when tax time comes, I have a little bit of a cushion. Savings can include, emergency savings as well. I'm making sure some of that money is going to my bills as well as me enjoying my money because, like I said, it comes and goes quickly. And if you are doing anything rooted in money, you're always going to be disappointed, and you'll experience some instances of gratification, but it is fleeting. Believe me. I probably have the least amount of money I've ever had in my life today right now in real time on January 22nd, 2025. And I have the most clarity. I'm the least worried I've ever been. I'm the least frazzled I've ever been. And I'm really just embodying, my word of the year last year, which was trust, and embodying my word of the year this year, which is discipline, in showing up and doing these lives, sending out my email newsletter every week, updating my Patreon for my TC member communities, or, paying bills, or if I'm going to be late, I'm calling them, like, I'm giving myself peace of mind because life happens. And these 7 years of being self-employed have not been perfect. And the years that I was up, I was way up. And then the years I've been down, I'm way down. And those years where I'm just kind of coasting and floating, I definitely took for granted. I definitely took for granted. And I'm, getting myself back day by day. And sometimes it can feel like you're climbing Mount Everest. And then other days it feels like you're just floating on the ocean, the sun beaming down with a, you know, pina colada in your hand, with or without booze. For me, it's no booze this year or ever. But you get the idea. If you're doing anything rooted in money, you're always going to be disappointed. So, but that's the financial health category. The next one I included, as along with tithing, is travel, hobbies, plus your big/scary goals. Because, like I said, it's important to be audacious. And if you're not pushing yourself or scaring yourself a little bit, are you even growing? You know what I mean? Like, a lot of my biggest accomplishments have come out of taking leaps of faith and trusting myself, or not even trusting myself and just doing it and then finding the trust later. So, I think this is a perfect transition into, summarizing this whole conversation. But going back to this whole exercise and being honest and having a strong desire to do so, it comes down to, what are your fears, insecurities, and doubts? Because it's one thing to take a leap of faith, right? And to just be a risk taker, but then not all of us are so risky. Some of us are very risk averse and we overthink, or we will undervalue ourselves to the point where we get nothing done. And I don't want that for any of us, because truly there's so much that we can accomplish that I don't think we give ourselves credit for. You know what I mean? And that's something that I've learned to calm down. I'm like, I can't let this scarcity mindset bring me down. I really can't, because it has many, many times. It really has brought me down so many times, to the point where I'm updating the new link, that I had those really extreme down years. You know what I mean? So sadly, I, have gone through my ups and downs when it comes to, financial success, as well as loss. But learning, it's one thing to learn how to manage money, but to learn how to trust myself with the money, or with the responsibilities of serving others, or the responsibility of just committing to my schedule, committing to a sleep schedule, committing to even taking care of, my oral health, or my weight, what I eat, making sure I do eat, being intentional. It all comes into play. And if you know what your fears are, if you know what your insecurities are, or your doubts, and you list them all out, and like I said, take your time with this, because it can trigger some, and open some past wounds that you may not have ever faced. But it's okay, and if you have to do this with a coach or a therapist, I highly recommend it. You know what I mean? Because it was when I really just let it out, and just stopped harboring it in here and in here, and it causing all these, acne and weight gain and just fatigue, because I was holding it all in, and once I let go of my fears and insecurities and accepted, like, they're always going to be there, but I have these tools and these resources to shut them down when they're starting to take over. You know what I mean? And it and it's okay to pause. It's okay to acknowledge your current emotions and feelings and what you're experiencing, but we must keep going. You know what I mean? And this is why doing exercises like this help you to, remind you, like, of that quote I said, or maybe you have a favorite lyric or Bible verse or a person that you can call or reference when you're, in down times. Like I said, maybe a coach or a therapist and a mentor even. But it's important to be transparent with yourself and honest and know yourself, because I know for me, if I don't know my next steps, I'll just be scrolling all day mindlessly or watching YouTube videos and forget that I have to go live, or forget that I have to um, do a bunch of stuff, audit files or interview someone. It's just, I need to know my next steps, and it's important to, I'm not that rigid with my schedule, but as long as I know what's ahead and what I need to do today, then I'll feel good about myself and I will more than likely get it done, versus when I just wake up and do what I feel like. Like, I can do that maybe once or twice a week, but not every day. But alongside listing out your fears, insecurities, and doubts, you want to know, what are your distractions, and listing out as many, at least one. For me, like I said, it's social media and scrolling. I haven't been on Instagram in almost 2 months. And the couple times that I did check early on before I said delete, I really just went on to make sure my DMs were cool for transaction care, and to make sure my links were routed to my YouTube channels. But deleting social media from my life, like, my anxiety went down. I felt like the days got longer because I had more time, because I could be scrolling for hours and it'll feel like 5 minutes. And next thing I know, it's 6 p.m. and I started scrolling at 1 p.m. It has gotten that bad. And it's important that we are just very mindful of how we use our time, and knowing your distractions will allow you to say, whoa, whoa, I've been scrolling too long, or let me just delete the app, or let me set timers, because consumption is great, but only if it makes you better. And if you're taking time to immediate action and being intentional about, you know, how you're progressing forward. Because I've been, excuse of, well, I'm watching these self-help videos, or I'm watching these business entrepreneur interviews, but I'll be watching them for hours and not taking action. So that eventually became a distraction, is overconsumption and no action. So make sure that, you know, you can have healthy distractions and escapism, yes, but is it consuming you and leaving you inactive? Okay. And the last couple of questions is, how do you avoid burnout? And it came down to 4 things that I listed: communication, intentionality, boundaries, and schedule time for joy. What brings you joy? List out at least list 5 people, places, or things, whether it's close, near, far, that you could tap into on the occasion or frequently. An example for me is I love basketball. And this is something I cut out of my life 20 plus years ago. And I didn't start playing again until, and this is just for my, at my leisure. I would just go in the morning, take my ball, and just go shoot around at the court for like an hour, sometimes 2 hours, pop in my headphones, go for, walks, especially if it was a nice day. I would do my vlogs out there. And it just brought me so much joy. And it revived a part of me that I had shut out for so long. And it made me, it started to unlock these parts of me that I'm like, wow, I miss this part of me. I miss this version of me. And I love this new version of me that's now incorporating more joy into my life. Because, like I said, the new year is here. We're already 3 weeks in, and I can feel myself fading away from my goals and my, you know, and the schedule, at the end of the day, it's still God's plan. Where is it? It's still God's plan, but I know that I have to meet my blessings halfway. I can't squander this opportunity by always expecting God to save me. I have to do my part and do the work. See, all these subtle reminders help me stay on track and be like, oh yeah, I'm procrastinating. Oh yeah, things happen. Technical difficulties happen like earlier in this live. I almost gave up. I almost didn't do the live. I was ready to just quit. But I'm so glad I didn't, because now I'm 40 minutes in, and I hope if you're watching to this part on the replay that you have found value in this and that you are listing out your joy. You know your distractions, you know what your dreams and your goals are and when you want to accomplish them. Because it's one thing to say, I want to be a millionaire, but it's like, well, how are you going to get there? And what has prevented you from getting there in the first place or previously? What are your habits? When are you waking up? When are you sleeping? Who are you surrounding yourself with? What are you listening to? What are you watching? How much of it are you consuming? And, how often are you taking action? Are you consuming for 23 hours and only taking action for an hour? Is there a way to flip that, where you're, consuming for an hour and then taking action for 23 hours? And I'm not saying to pull all-nighters, but there are seasons where you are going to have to grind and lose sleep. But then there will be seasons where you can just coast and just maintain and then just be prepared for, anything that comes your way. Being a former athlete, we had conditioning at the beginning of the season. We did more practice runs than we ever did in the actual game. There were some games where I played, I didn't even, get the ball passed to me, or I didn't get a single kick into the net, when I was a goalie, but I was prepared for anything, you know what I mean? And I've taken that mindset into my day to day, and I'm hoping that this has helped you in your journey, help you have made it this far in this vlog. Again, I will touch on these subjects throughout the entire year. This isn't just a one and done situation. I want to make sure that we are all on track this year and that we are staying accountable, that we are keeping our promises to ourselves and, managing our time accordingly, as well as, prioritizing what is a priority, but also making sure we're touching base with ourselves and checking in with all the categories that we discussed today. So we made it to the end of the video. I hope this helps you to stick to your goals in 2025. And again, like I said, we will check in probably again next Wednesday. Once I get all these kinks figured out with the technical difficulties, I can't see the chat. I had to start a new chat, but I didn't give up. I showed up and I'm doing the work. Regardless of how it started, I'm finishing strong. And I wish that for you as well. 2025 is here, and all of this will impact 2025 and beyond. So give it sit down, give yourself a chance to show up and show out. That's what we're doing this year. Okay, guys. But this is another TC live stream. My name is Lillian Hernandez, and this is Transaction Care. I really, really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. I hope I've made an impact in your life or provided you with value. If you want to connect with me directly, subscribing and leaving a comment is the best way, as well as joining my TC community. It's a private membership that I have created on a separate platform, aka Patreon. But if you go to patreon.com/transactioncare or just visit my website, transactioncare.com, everything lives there. And all of the information is here on my YouTube as well. It's affordable, and I'm giving you as much information and knowledge about real estate, business mindset, especially transaction coordination that I can within that platform on a weekly basis. I post weekly vlogs here as well. And my goal is to bring back these more consistent live streams, either weekly or maybe every first Wednesday of the month. We shall see. I'm experimenting, but for now, I have my schedule on lock. I'm sticking to it, and I'll gradually add things as I go. But I really appreciate you for watching, sticking around. If you made it this far, let's see, throw up a praise hands emoji. Like, throw up a praise hands emoji if you're still watching this 44 minutes in. But until the next live stream and until the next vlog, my name is Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily. And this is Transaction Care. Care for yourself, care for your wealth. Your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. Talk soon.